good look at that big cat back there. Once she spots us, she won't be there very long. She's a cougar, and cougar don't want any part of people. In fact, when our ancestors began to push across America, they were far more likely to hear the cougar than see it. And what they heard, an ungodly scream piercing the night air, often filled them with terror. It conjured up old world legends of werewolves and banshees and tortured souls. But this was the scream of a new world legend, the one the Indians called Ghost Walker, and sometimes the Cat of God. The Cat of God had nearly 100 names, but we know it best by 3: Puma, Mountain Lion, and Cougar. The cry of the cougar is seldom heard in the New World anymore. But high in the Rocky Mountains, the ghost still walks. Spring bathes the Colorado Rockies in its own special light. It drifts from peak to peak, whispering its wake-up call. But the sun-loving cougar refuses to be roused. Her year-old daughter, however, has already hunted up breakfast, a jackrabbit. Mother sleepily acknowledges her daughter's success. Oh, well, the rabbit smells good, but right now she'd rather sleep than eat. And there's not enough rabbit to go around anyway. These are the sunshine days for the mother and daughter cougar team. They've been close companions for just over a year. It's the only long-term relationship that cougars ever know. Mostly, the cougar is a cat that walks by herself, living and hunting alone. The yearling doesn't know that yet. Mother has always been there, feeding her, protecting her, joining in her kittenish games. This is her mother's territory, and she's been allowed to share it lovingly. But today, those good times are going to end. Mother lazes in her den, as usual. Daughter pops in to play, as usual. Mother shows no interest. But that's okay. There's more than one way to tease a cat. However, today, the queen is not amused. In fact, she's downright hostile. Daughter knows when she's not wanted. What she doesn't know is that her exile is permanent. Mother is only doing what mother cougars must do. The yearling must be driven away. Mother has a new set of priorities, and they don't include her bewildered daughter. She's still just a kitten in some ways, and her mother's territory is the only world she knows. But now she must wander like a refugee. And her wandering won't end until she can establish a territory of her own. There is a purpose to her exile. Her mother is given birth again, and when new young ones arrive, older young ones must leave. That is the way of the cougar. The spring breezes recharge the mountain air. A snow-fed creek gurgles down from the peaks. And a pair of newborn mule deer fawns become acquainted with their mother. They're off to a shaky start, but they'll grow up fast, if they grow up at all. Suddenly, the forest grows tense. The mother mule deer might try to fight for her fawns if the cougar spots them, but first she'll try to lure the young female away. This time, the deception works. The cougar's favorite prey is mule deer. And even a yearling hunts them successfully. But she can't hunt what she can't find. The big cat pads away. And the doe slips back to her fawns, who will never know how lucky they were. In the warming noonday sun, the exile returns to familiar territory. Her mother is not happy to see her. The yearling is no longer welcome, even as a visitor. Mother prepares for trouble. She guards her week-old kittens from their big sister, just in case she's jealous enough to harm them. The yearling seems to understand that she is not wanted. Mother makes it absolutely clear, and daughter resumes her wandering. It's not easy being a mother. She shouldn't be hunting her mother's chirp. But when a meal happens by, it's too hard to resist. In all nature, nothing kills more quickly or cleanly than the big cat. The Colorado spring glides into summer. The yearling paces the burning sands because she still hasn't found a home of her own. This could be the place. No, it's already occupied by another female. And that means trouble. Trouble by leaps and bounds. She's an intruder in this cat's territory. She won't fight eviction. Female cougars rarely hurt each other, but they get their point across. A new day opens on a new landscape. The exiled female trots on aimlessly. She notes a coiled rattlesnake and decides to give it a pass. But even big cats are curious, sometimes a little too curious. She might kill the rattler. The rattler might kill her. He does manage to get a rise out of her. And enough is more than enough. As autumn descends, A mule deer buck catches the eye of the still homeless cougar. The buck doesn't know it yet, but he's being stalked. The mule deer senses he's not alone. The cougar hunches forward, and the hunted is now aware of the hunter. An age-old deadly game moves out into the open, and the stakes are life and death. One of the Indian names for the cougar was keeper of the deer. Mule deer and elk make up well over half of her diet. But the cougar doesn't engage in indiscriminate slaughter. She manages the herds, and if the deer are plentiful, the cougar will kill more of them, but if the deer have a bad year, she won't kill as many. And of all the predators, none kills so humanely as the cougar. She hurls her 130 pounds through the air in 40-foot leaps and lands on the deer's shoulders and sinks her teeth into its neck. The spinal column is severed, but death is almost instantaneous. Her success ratio is also impressive. 1 kill for every 3 attempts. But she doesn't have it quite as easy when she goes against a healthy young buck. His flashing antlers are as deadly as daggers, and his hooves could hammer in nails. And if she gets torn up, or if her jaw's broken, she won't last long in this unforgiving world. The young cougar slinks around the edge of the pond. She knows she must not move too soon. If she spooks the deer now, he could be off like a shot. But he isn't intimidated by the cat's technique. In fact, he seems to welcome the challenge. Cougars can sprint, but deer can run. This time, the sprinter loses. Autumn snaps and crackles through the Rockies. Mule deer bucks assemble for a timeless test of strength. The cougar's manicure is interrupted by an angry clash of antlers. Sounds too good to miss. The males are rutting, fighting for the right to breed. The cougar is more than just curious. She could make a meal of an injured buck. But the obvious mismatch loses momentum. And the cougar loses interest. As winter swoops down on the roof of Colorado, the young cat's search for territory has come to an end. She has patrolled here for weeks, unchallenged. Which means that all this is now hers. She makes it official, scratching her mark on an ancient tree trunk. Winter lays siege to the Rockies. And as the snow gets deeper, the mule deer get hungrier. Many will starve to death this year. The weather breaks and hints at spring. The maturing cougar surveys her domain. The deer trek downward, desperate for food. The hunter tags along. A winter-weakened deer makes for an easy kill. But an injured deer is easier still. There's no hurry. One deer takes off, but the other can't. This is where its misery ends. Almost a mercy killing. The big cat eats her fill. And when she's finished eating, she buries the remains. She'll come back here later for leftovers. Life is good for the cougar these days, but she's begun to sense that something is missing. She's nearly 2 years old now, and there's a stirring in her belly. Soon, very soon, she'll be seeking a mate. A male has been here recently. Her nose tells her that. The deer straggle down to the warmer valley lands, with the cougar in easy pursuit. Suddenly, civilization looms. Cougars are man-shy. She'll go no farther. But the deer are driven by starvation. The cougar's fear of man seems inborn. If she can avoid contact, she will. A fence won't stop the healthier mule deer. But some aren't healthy anymore. The hay will fill their stomachs, but tragically, it won't keep them alive. They must browse for nutrition. Apple trees provide plenty of browse. The deer have found salvation. But apple orchards belong to people, and people tend to protect them. All persuasion should be so gentle. It's only noise. But it's effective. The fireworks echo across the valley, and the cougar goes on full alert. The panicked doe spurs the huntress to action. It's a perfect spot for an ambush. The woods lie silent, but the cat's keen senses pick up some movement. And then it's gone. She hesitates, but not for long. If another female has intruded on her turf, she'll have to drive her off. But it's not a female. It's a big, healthy male. She's tentative, but he's aggressive. And nature begins to take its course. Their relationship won't last. In a few weeks, he'll be gone. In a few months, she'll be a mother for the first time. But for a while, as winter fades, the cat who walks by herself has company in the new wilderness. When the New World was very new, cougars ranged freely over 2 continents, from the cold northern peaks of British Columbia to the southernmost extremities of Chile and Argentina. But when the white man came, the cougar was stripped of nearly all of her domain. Her vital food sources, the deer and elk, were systematically eliminated. And the cougar herself was shot on sight, the excuse being protection of livestock. But the fact is, cougars rarely ever preyed on livestock. That would have brought them too close to people. There are still a few cougars in eastern North America, or at least there have been reports of cougars, but mostly they stick to the safety of the Rockies. No more than 16,000 and perhaps as few as 4,000. Here at least, they can still live up to their legends, the keepers of the deer and the ghosts who walk through the new wilderness.
hope you've enjoyed this episode of Lorne Greene's New Wilderness. And here are some of the other titles available in this award-winning series. Lorne Greene's New Wilderness. All these videos have a suggested retail price of only $14.95 and are available in stores everywhere. Ask for them by name. Lorne Greene's New Wilderness from Prism Entertainment.